Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you won't find any stories of doom and gloom, because we're all on this ride together. But I'm on a mission to talk to as many leaders as I can from all over the world, so we can start focusing on tech-based solutions to the problems that everybody is facing right now. Now, in my IT past, I have seen all too often what happens when testing is neglected. So today, I've invited Norm Merritt, CEO and president of a company called Qualitest, onto the podcast. Now, Qualitest, for those that don't know, is the world's largest pure-play software testing and quality assurance specialist. And they design and deliver solutions that leverage deep industry-specific understanding with cutting-edge testing technology. And although we're surrounded by uncertainty everywhere we look at the moment, Qualitest hopes to grow and reach $1 billion revenue and reach that goal in 5 years. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to New York for a much needed good news story with Norm Merritt, CEO at Qualitest. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name's Norm Merritt. I'm the CEO of a company called Qualitest. It's a group of amazing people, about 3,500 quality engineers in 6 different countries around the world. And we basically help companies that are using technology, using software to change their approach to creating value, using technology to change their value stack or change the way that they approach business. We basically help them to assure that the software works properly. Not only that it works properly, but also that it fulfills the business purpose for which the software was created. So you can name any company, any industry. They're all recognizing that technology needs to change the way they do their business, and we help them assure that when they make those changes, use that technology, that the technology works properly.
And Qualitest, it's worth highlighting, is the world's largest pure-play software testing and quality assurance specialist. But for people just hearing about you for the first time, can you just set the scene and tell me a little bit more about how you actually design and deliver solutions that leverage deep industry-specific understanding with that cutting-edge testing technology?
Yeah, we, as you would expect, because we are a pure-play company, meaning that this is all we do. We focus on quality engineering. We have really deep expertise in terms of the use of tools, in terms of understanding certain industries and the technology in those industries. And that's all resident in not only our engineers and their background and experience and deep expertise, but also in the tools that we've created over time, the intellectual property that gives our engineers an ability to really do testing at a very sophisticated level. If you think about it, as I said, companies are using technology to change everything in their business, and when they do that, they're imposing risk into their value chain. Risk of systems that are increasingly complex and hard to understand, systems that increasingly have to interact with one another and integrate and pass data back and forth between various systems. All of this increasing complexity being driven by the desire to compete with technology imposes risks in the business. And what we do is we bring our expertise to bear to make sure that those risks are understood and mitigated, and that there's a excellent feedback loop back into the development of the software, so that the software is again, not only works properly, but it does exactly what it was designed to do in terms of the business purpose, the outcome that developers were trying to get to when they actually developed the code itself.
I'm curious, are you finding that businesses are taking the integration and testing of software for preventative measures more seriously now? And how have you seen attitudes evolve, adapt, and change over the years?
Certainly. I mean, you can see it even empirically, where historically the percentage of spending, if you look at like the total amount spent in development of software, roughly 8 to 10% was spent on quality engineering, and we're finding that percentage increasing. It's in the mid-teens at this point, and that's just empirical evidence of the fact that as systems increase in complexity, ensuring that those systems work properly and that the outcomes are as designed is increasingly important. And there are lots and lots and lots of horror stories of companies that don't or haven't taken quality as seriously as they should, that end up with egg on their face or worse. Examples of companies who shut down and it cost several $100 million to get things going again. It doesn't take much on a Google search to find examples of companies whose quality assurance regimen was not proper. And so as companies hear that, as CTOs hear that, they recognize that quality is increasingly important. And it's really changing how quality is actually brought to bear in a software development cycle. Because the software development cycles themselves, the way people develop software, are changing. It used to be very much a kind of big bang type of approach, which called waterfall, where a company would design software and then they would develop that software in kind of a monolithic way. And then after it's designed and developed, then they'd pass it over to quality before they would launch. And it would result in very long cycles of development. And what's happening now in the software world is that companies are recognizing they need to be much more agile. And so they're breaking the software task up into small pieces and basically dividing it out to various teams, or what they call scrums. And those scrums have 2-week or 1-week development cycles where they're developing their piece of the software in a very rapid order. And in that cycle, that development of that software, before they launch it, they're actually making sure that it is meeting certain quality requirements. And that quality, therefore, is being shifted left, is what we call it, where quality engineering is no longer kind of a post-development effort. It's actually integrated into the development itself. And so as you develop these smaller pieces, you look at you ensure that it's got quality, you launch it, but you're doing it in a much more agile way. And so the benefit of a company like Qualitest is that we're experts at testing and we understand this evolution of software development. We can actually help companies that are wanting to get more rapid in their development approach and more agile to actually figure out how to do that and still ensure that they have a quality product at the end.
I must admit, I still get flashbacks from my IT days of what happens when a shiny new project skips testing to ensure that it goes live on time. But of course, that usually creates a technical debt that will always need repaying at some point. But I'm curious, are you finding that many businesses are understanding the importance of software testing before implementation more now?
Yeah, I think companies are recognizing that it's no longer. I mean, it used to be technology was kind of a back office functionality, and it was something accounting used or billing. It was for many industries, it wasn't the front product, it wasn't the customer facing product, but that's changing in most industries. And technology, just walk into any McDonald's and you'll see kiosks that now take the order. Well, that kiosk is a hardware software integration conundrum, really. I mean, it's a lot of pieces that have to work together, whether it's taking payments or making it intuitive for the guest. They want to make sure it doesn't decrease the spend of the consumers that are using it. And McDonald's is just one example. It doesn't matter what company you look at, they're recognizing that technology now needs to interface with the customers. And now, so more than ever, I mean, in this COVID situation, there are companies that are recognizing that their e-commerce is their lifeblood. And it's not just retailers, it's, restaurants, and even companies in other industries are recognizing that being able to have their product offering driven by technology in a really and be able to be agile and quick in making changes and being competitive in that offering is increasingly important for them. It's no longer a nice to have, it's increasingly existential. And to the extent that it is, making sure that that software works properly is increasingly important. So yeah, companies are definitely recognizing that they need to step up their game. And that's why we see demand for our services as a pure play quality assurance company increasing dramatically. Companies are clamoring for expertise in this area, and specialists that know how to do it, can help them, can enable them, and can give them assurance that they can't get otherwise.
And for any business leaders or project managers listening, can you tell me a little bit more about how you're actually making it easier to integrate software testing into a company's best practice?
Well, that's really what we do. You've just kind of touched on what is Qualitest. We basically, we have really strong engineers with strong tool sets and strong IP, and we can basically morph the solution to meet the specific need of a client and in an industry. And we really pride ourselves, because we are specialists in quality engineering, that we're able to really with pinpoint accuracy develop or bring to bear precise solutions for the specific instance. And so we're not a cookie cutter kind of a approach. We really take a look, we assess what the issues are, we assess where the risks are, we assess where the breakage points might happen. And based on our expertise and based on our tool set, we can help companies mitigate that. And so there's an increasing demand for what we do, because it is so important as part of the software development lifecycle.
And do you have any examples of how software testing can be implemented across multiple industries, just to help bring it to life for people listening?
Well, software testing has to be it has to be specific to the industry or the company or their specific tech stack for it to be effective and efficient. But there are lots of examples where the type of expertise that we have crosses industries. So, as one example, and there are many I could give you, we're experts at SAP or Oracle or other enterprise types of software packages. And so, as companies adopt that, and companies tend to do that across industries, they're needing an enterprise level system to handle their payroll and handle their, all of their billing and their accounting, the entire enterprise system. They'll adopt something like SAP or something like Workday or something, some of these other software products, and they need experts to make sure that when they do that, that quality is maintained. And so we are experts in that. We have a whole enterprise practice, and irrespective of the industry, if the company is adopting or adapting that to that new technology, they're putting that technology in place, we can be there for them. So one example is, SAP is currently undergoing a significant transformation in their database structure for their base product. And they're forcing their user base to basically change and use this new S/4HANA database. And it's creating a lot of anxiety for current SAP users to have to make this conversion. And that's why they can turn to experts like us who have been through it many times. We've helped companies through it. We can give them a perspective of what to expect, and we can help them avoid, blind alleys or problems that others have experienced. And so that's the real benefit of hiring a specialist that has broad industry experience, across all industries, as well as industry specific experience. So we have a financial services practice, we have a healthcare and medical device practice, and so forth. So we not only have expertise that crosses industries in enterprise level software, as that one example I gave you. There are others as well. or we have expertise in the actual vertical industry itself. So we speak the language of the revenue models and the vernacular of a particular industry.
Now, as we record this conversation today, you're in New York locked down and I'm locked down here in the UK. So I've got to ask, what is your biggest challenge right now and how are you overcoming it?
Well, it's amazing. As a company, we're very agile. We basically overnight converted from, we converted to work from home. All 3,500 of our engineers are working in their respective homes across the globe, in 6 different countries, as I said. And it was a very quick, very seamless kind of conversion. And our biggest question right now is how will this impact our clients, and how can we be of help to them? We're not wanting to be too commercial at this point. It's really about how can we help, because a lot of our client companies are trying to figure out, what is this going to do to us, and is this going to impact our own revenue? And we found in many cases our clients needed help in their own business continuity planning. And it was us asking them questions about how are you planning to do this that actually, goaded them, and they actually, looked to us and looked to some of our examples of how we've done the transition. So right now it's kind of a little bit of a wait and see. Also wanting to be as proactive as we can, but wanting to be there for our clients, and wanting to kind of figure out what's the likely outcome or impact of this broad shutdown across the globe. I think everybody's kind of wondering how long this is going to last.
And it's also worth highlighting, you've got experience growing businesses through organic growth, through acquisitions and running large BPO companies with revenue of hundreds of millions of dollars, as well as later stage startups such as ShopKeep. But what have been your biggest lessons that you've learned along the way?
I think it's a very good question. Look, I've had just a wonderful career. I'm so blessed to have had the experience I've had and learned from the people that I've learned from. And I could say probably the main thing that I've learned is to balance your stakeholders' needs and recognize that to be a healthy, successful commercial enterprise, you have to first and foremost provide a career track and an opportunity for your folks, for your people, for your employees to be fulfilled, to basically fill their dreams, their family dreams, as they sit around a kitchen table and try to figure out that they want to buy a boat, or they want to buy a house, or they want to, whatever their aspirations are, being able to help them achieve that through giving them increased responsibility and opportunities to grow, and as they contribute to the value of the company, also receiving that value. And so first and foremost, taking care of your team, because your team has to take care of your clients. And if a company isn't client focused in everything it does, really recognizing that the clients are the reason that we exist, and that we need to basically be assessing their needs and providing high value, beneficial solutions that fill and meet those needs. And we need to be creative and agile as a company. And again, that comes by having a really engaged, employee base. And then if you do those two things well, and kind of in that order, then the last stakeholder, which often companies get confused about the order of priority, you will fulfill your shareholders' expectations, because you'll be driving growth, you'll be driving value for your employees. They'll love the company. They'll want to be part of the success and the growth, and it's kind of a virtuous cycle. There are lots and lots of examples that I've seen over my career where executives get that backwards.
And we are all living in a period of uncertainty at the moment, and many business plans have gone out the window. But what is next for Qualitest? Is there anything you can share with me about the road or your focus at the moment for the future?
Yeah, we're on track, and we're driving towards a vision of growing the company both organically and inorganically. We're lucky to be in a very, very large industry. $138 billion is spent in quality engineering of some sort or another across the globe. And as the world's largest pure play, we're still a relatively small piece of that. So there's lots and lots of headroom for us to be able to grow. Interesting thing about the size of the market is not only is it big, it's growing very rapidly. It's growing in the kind of low teens in terms of year-over-year growth as companies invest more and more and more in technology. So the industry is massive. We've got a differentiated product. We're the world's largest. And so we think there's plenty of room for us to become $1 billion business, which would be about 5x where we are today. And we're on track to make that happen. We've got a leadership team that's focused on driving that. And we're only going to do that to the extent that we add value to our customers, and we continue to add value because we do that. And then, they continue to have us help them along their path, along their software technology path.
And for anyone whose curiosity has been awoken today by listening to our conversation, what's the best way of reaching you guys online and contacting your team?
The best way is just to go out to our website, www.qualitestgroup.com. And there's, it's basically the way to kind of get familiar with the company, get familiar with the team. And we'd encourage anybody that's interested in having a very high quality approach to quality engineering. Qualitest is the best you could find.
Fantastic. Well, I've loved having you on here today, especially hearing some more positive news and a positive narrative out there, because like I said, it is a period of uncertainty at the moment. But in the last year alone, your company's growth, including moving your headquarters to London, opening additional offices in India, Portugal, Mexico, and the US, and completing acquisitions as I think it was Algotrace recently as well. It's clear that you've got an incredible future ahead of you, but I'd love to get you back on when we're the other side of this pandemic and see how things are going. But more than anything, just a big thank you for joining me today. Thanks again, Norm.
Well, thank you, Neil. Appreciate it very much.
So many big talking points from Norm there, such as how to integrate and test software for preventative measures, and the ease of integrating software testing into a company's practices, and the importance of software testing before implementation, because we all know what happens if you skip it. You still have to pay the price at some point, and it usually takes a lot more resources to put it right. And finally, how software testing can be implemented across a wide range of industries. And yes, I know testing is probably the last thing on your mind right now, but we all know what happens when it is skipped. So please, I want to hear your war stories, solutions, questions, or even tips how to survive lockdown. And you can do all that and more by emailing me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. And don't forget, my website is techblogwriter.co.uk. You can find out more details about my book on innovation, 1,200 podcast interviews, and all the social channels are at the bottom of the page if you'd like to connect with me on there. All I ask is don't just follow me or send a connection request. Send a little note with it. Tell me you listen to this podcast so I can add you to my little VIP list. But seriously, a big thank you for listening as always. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.